Ready to learn how you can get started as a social media virtual assistant? In this video, I'll go through step by step the process of how you can become a social media virtual assistant. Now, in my channel, I've gotten a lot of different types of assistants come through and ask different questions. And I know a really top one that a lot of people are really curious about is becoming a social media virtual assistant. Basically, what a social media virtual assistant does is, honestly, it's a little bit of a range. You can be someone who's in charge of just the content, of just creating and curating really good content. You could be someone in charge of posting and doing analytics, or you could be someone who's in charge of making sure that ads or Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads are being used in the right way and whatever the target engagement is really for that. Or you might be doing a little bit of all of that. So really depending on your client or what you want to specialize in as well, you can have a range of skills when it comes to becoming a social media virtual assistant. Now, the first step is to really build your expertise. For me, to be honest, when it comes to learning how to become a social media virtual assistant, there's so many amazing resources, amazing mentors, amazing experts that you can lean into, that they're just all here on YouTube talking about how they can get started. And you can start there. You don't have to right away buy courses or get certifications. Just start by learning the basics first. So then as you do start learning and gaining more skills, as you are maybe trying to get that certification, at least you already have a baseline foundation of what it is or what it means to be a social media VA. Maybe you even want to interview a few social media virtual assistants that you might already know, or just look at their day in life, but you want to really learn what is the day-to-day of a social media VA as you want to get into it. You don't want it to be where like, oh, it looks glamorous, it looks amazing, it looks easy, like they're creating months of content ahead, but they did build up their expertise before they got up to that point. So learning from mentors, seeing how they do it is going to be your first step. Next is you want to know what works. What I mean by that is you want to try to figure out what are the things that already are succeeding or working for some of these social media VAs. This is why, like I said, you want to go back and look at who's already successful in this field and how they get started and what is currently working right now. The fickle thing when it comes to being a social media VA is what could be trending 6 months ago isn't going to work this time, because when you're social media VA, you're kind of in the whim of the social media platforms. You know, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, they change their algorithms often to kind of make sure that people stay in the platform that they're in. You have to keep that in mind, is that social media platforms want the people to stay. So for example, you guys found me on YouTube, if you found me on TikTok or Instagram, they showed you my video because they want you to stay, because based off of your past interests, they think that you should find or view my content. So you need to learn what is an algorithm, which is basically like how Facebook or Instagram or YouTube decides that you should see a piece of content. You need to learn essentially what is important for each platform. So for example, on TikTok right now, they're experimenting with more of the landscape type of videos versus before they were on portrait. You want to learn also what works for the audience of the client that you'll have. So this is also where picking your niche is very important, is you want to pick a niche that you are either comfortable in, that you already might be a part of. Like for example, for me, if I wanted to become a social media VA, I might target authors for fiction books because I am in that niche. So it'll be easy for me to create content with them, and I know what works for that niche because I'm in that niche. So that is what I mean by knowing what works and what could work for you even. And again, already seeing what is already in the space. Success leaves clues. There's always going to be clues that you'll find in other places that you might not be seeing right away. But I was like, oh, this person so-and-so was able to already find the solution for the problem that I'm facing. Let me just follow what they said. Next is you do need to learn content creation. What I mean by this is you need to learn at least the basics of how to be a graphic artist. So you need to learn like design theory basically. You also need to learn a little bit of copywriting, and you also need to learn a little bit of just content creation in general. So as an example, you would need to learn that you shouldn't have more than 2 fonts in one graphic. You should need to learn that in copywriting you need to reel people in with their attention. And when it comes to content creation in general, how does it happen? What are the good ways to have good lighting? What are the good ways to have good audio? So it's learning really the basics of what it is to create content. That that way, you have a little bit of a better feel for what can work for your niche and what can work basically for the different social media platforms that you're using. So it's also basically learning that on LinkedIn, you have to be more of a professional vibe, you have to be more educational. Instagram is a little bit more fun, more behind the scenes, and Facebook is usually for your friends and family. So something, memes basically, for example, that you can share across the platform. So it's learning really what content works in what platform as well. And again, making it be where it can look aesthetic, that it can be uniformed, because when you're a social media VA, you're representing the client or the company that you're working for. So you need to show up as them. So when you're learning how to do content creation, you're learning how to make things look unified. Like if you guys go and check out my Instagram, it's very unified because I've purposely made the effort of making it look the same. So then people can recognize it if it's my content or it's not. So that's kind of the importance really of learning the foundations and the basics of content creation, and not just launching into just learning how social media platforms work. The next one is learning how to master analytics. What this is part of your responsibilities as a social media VA is you can't just be spouting out content without it returning some engagement or the target action that your client wants. So for example, for us at 2XU, the main analytic that we're always looking at is how many people actually sign up for our scorecard, because that is how we will find out if a person is a match for us as a client or not. That's kind of the conversion for us to know that our social media efforts are making sense, that our social media efforts are actually targeting the right people, is when we have those conversion basically from seeing a post into actually them doing an action. So that's what I mean by learning how to master analytics, is you want to look at numbers and not feel overwhelmed and actually understand what each number means. So for example, if you are mastering LinkedIn, you want to look at engagement, the comments, and the reposts basically that every post will get. That way you can know how many people are seeing it, how many people want to take action, or if you want them, like if you say comment below this word and I'll send you a link, then you know that they took action beyond just seeing the post, beyond just reading the post. You also need to learn how to create analytics that you can give as a report for your client or for your company that you're working for, so then they can understand your efforts, and then you can already start even giving suggestions of like, hey, I noticed that this graphic didn't really work, but I wrote this video worked better. So I think we're going to lean into video a little bit more to kind of keep getting the good engagement that we're getting. So that kind of way where you are able to interpret basically for your client or the company you're working with that what you're doing works and what doesn't, and what you're doing about it as well. Next is you want to start building your portfolio. Now, as a social media VA, your portfolio is basically if you're going to go ahead and create an account, a social media account, whether you want to be on Instagram, on LinkedIn, anywhere else, and you start growing that is your portfolio. So if you've never had a client before, you want to start building up your own skills as a social media VA by managing your own account. Now you can make this super duper easy. One is you could be managing your own brand account. So again, if you guys want to check out my Instagram, it's usually like somewhere on here. On there, I kind of treated my own Instagram account as my portfolio if I wanted to become an Instagram VA for one reason or another. But I also want to show it to you guys as a way for you to get to know what you can create for yourself as a personal brand. Other than that, if let's say you don't want to focus on building your personal brand, you might be a little bit shy, and that's okay. You might want to start with maybe talking about something that you love. That's why we have people who are bookstagrammers who enjoy creating Instagram posts about the books that they read. We also have foodstagrammers, so people who create posts out of the food that they just ate. So whatever it is for you, find an interest that you already have and create a social media account around it so you can test out both your graphic skills, your copywriting skills basically, and also how you can read analytics. You're basically starting to put it all together, and you're using yourself as a test client. This is kind of the fun thing when you're a social media VA, because unlike other types of roles, like a general VA or an executive VA, you can have a portfolio you're already building, you're already testing out as if you're your own client, because of course you're trying to see what works and what doesn't. You can do this with all sorts of platforms. You can do this with Pinterest, Facebook, anywhere else. You're just creating a brand and you're creating your craft around it. You're getting better and better at what it is that you do based off of, again, having yourself be your first client. Next is then you want to start finding clients creatively. So I'm not just going to give you an advice of like look at online jobs at BH or look at LinkedIn, although you can. I would suggest that you can start looking locally. You can start looking maybe at your favorite coffee shop. You notice that they don't have a lot of social media presence. offer your services. If you know a friend who started their own business, but they're so overwhelmed, they don't know yet where to start with their social media, offer your services. It could also be that you have a brand or a business that you like, but you notice that they're not super active on social media. Offer your services. Find a gap basically of the things you already like. Do a really good job in showing up for them and creating content for them. And then either that they'll just pay you a lot or they'll refer you to other people as well. It's kind of the magical thing is then you can start gathering essentially more and more clients by showing up, by asking, by filling a gap that you already see and being that person who shows up for them. A lot of the times entrepreneurs are really overwhelmed. We know we're supposed to be doing operations, we're supposed to be marketing, sales, everything else to grow the business. That if you had someone to just, hey, let me help you out. I'll even do a week for free. This is what I mean by finding more creatively. I'll even do a week for free just so you can see, what works in your business, what doesn't. If it doesn't pan out, then no worries at all. I can just kind of basically use what I created for you as part of my portfolio. So it's finding, again, creative ways to get people to start seeing what it is that you can offer, what it is that you can do, and actually getting them those results. It might not be instantly, but it's just also gaining the confidence of selling yourself. Which brings me to the next step of creating free samples. What I mean by this is I already gave the example of maybe offering like, hey, let me do social media work for you for a week basically for free, so then you can see what I can do and we can easily see how it affects your business. This is what I mean by creating free samples is you start giving a little bit, not all of it, of the work for free so they can see how it is to work with you, the quality of your work, and how you show up as well. Now, you can't put a limit of like, hey, I can only do 3 revisions. I don't want to do more than that. I'll stick to your brand colors and your brand kit and all of that. Of course, make sure that you have a good boundary in between you, but it's also just in good faith showing them what it is that you can do for them. Next is, of course, make sure that you get testimonials or create case studies and just get more and more feedback so you can get better and better at what it is that you do. And it will also make it easier for you to find other clients if you have testimonials and people who will say, yeah, I worked with Leanne. She was amazing. Yeah, you'd love her work. Next step is you want to go ahead and then create your documentation. What I mean by this is create step-by-step process of how you do certain things. That way you have a good checklist of what it looks like for you to work with different people. So as a really good example, you can create a checklist of every single time you onboard a new client, you're making sure that you have their brand kit, or you might even be adding that as your offer, that you're creating their brand kit. It's also making sure you have access to like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever they want you to post. It also might be a checklist of before you start creating a graphic, you have, you make sure their logo is somewhere in there, you're following their brand colors, so on and so forth. But you have a standard operating procedure of how you do certain things. So then again, it's easy for you to replicate that as you go through from client to client. And lastly, build up your profile. You might have gone ahead and created your own profile as your portfolio. Keep building that up. Don't just stop just because you started getting clients. Keep building it up, keep showing up, keep using it as an organic way for people to find you, or to make it easy for your current clients to refer you to other people by showing them your profile. So again, make it easy for other people to kind of see what it is that you do even before they start working with you, because it gives them the confidence and the boost of like, yeah, I want to work with this person. Just like how you're watching my video right now, you're seeing like, oh, Leanne can do this, Leanne can do that, and I'm giving this for you for free. Not because I'm hoping that you guys might work with us in 2XU, but just also because I want you guys to learn a lot of these really good stuff to make it easy for you to get started. Now, if you guys like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button right there and comment below what else would you like to know. If you have any specific questions about being a social media VA, I would love to know. And if you still haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to have a business from home, which you guys can check out through the playlist right here and the latest video right here. Hope you guys have an amazing day, and remember that small steps matters. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!